Okay, I'm just testing my microphone now just to see if everything is working, and we will be starting in just a few moments. Good evening, one and all. My name is Simon Mishevich. I'm just going to move my, it looks like my camera is a bit far, so I'm just going to move that while I'll talk to you. But good evening to everyone listening in. I'm going to be starting in just a few moments. Just going to move my microphone and my headphones as I talk to you. So everything should be in shots now. So hopefully that will work now. So here we are. Yes, good evening to you all. And thank you ever so much for joining me on this evening's session. I am going to be going through some updates from yesterday when I did the financial crisis, because, well, the preparation of a financial crisis because of coronavirus. But I want to just explain that because I'm not promoting the fact that we are going to go through a financial crisis nor a recession. But I do think the saying I gave yesterday is prominent, in as much as that if you fail to plan, you will plan to fail. So I would always say, look on the edge of caution whilst taking advantage of the opportunities that exist because of the situation we're in. And I'm going to go into some of the details that what I'm doing personally. And that's been updated all the way through today. So what I'm going to do is go through my slides. So hi, I'm Simon Mishevich from Optimize Accountants. I'm here to help you grow your wealth whilst doing it in the most tax efficient way. Tonight, obviously, is about this coronavirus and financial update. So that's what exactly I'm going to be doing, is giving you that update. In last night, I'm not going to repeat too much of what I said yesterday because I'm not going to do that. You can watch this video. There will be a link below this video description, or if you look at my YouTube channel, you will see yesterday's financial impact on there. This is the update for tonight. And I'm going to do an update again tomorrow based on the things that we're learning. So I'm going to do a recap of last night, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. That was 44 minutes in itself. So it's worth kind of skimming through that, making sure that you're up to date as much as possible. But in yesterday's session, I talked about the financial impact. And if you're up to date on the FTSE, it slipped below the 5,000 mark. there are opportunities I'm going to share with you in terms of what I'm personally doing. So do stay tuned with that. And I'm going to do that towards the end, but it is worth noting straight away that there are opportunities, financial opportunities, given the situation we're in. And I want to share that with you tonight so that you can either think, hey, that's a great idea, or I'm going to do that myself, or actually, hey, Simon, you suck, and I'll do something different. It's up to you guys, but I just wanted to share what I'm doing so you can get an idea. So that's the financial impact. I talked about the financial impact on different industries, on the stock markets itself. So do check that video for more details on that. I talked about government email alerts. I've created an article. I'll share the link again, which is below this video description. So do go to that. And it's got a number of links on there. But the first one I would say is probably worth doing is going to the government daily updates. So that's telling you all the things that the government are doing to help you and I in this financial crisis that we're potentially going in, and indeed looking at coronavirus in terms of the health issues that we need to safeguard ourselves against. In that last night, we talked about mortgage repayments, payment holidays. So I talked about my own bank, where NatWest talked about my buy-to-let property investments, whereby I'm going on a payment holiday now for 6 months, because I'm concerned that my tenants may not be able to afford the rent anymore. And I gave an example where I let the tenants go early because I only felt it was right to do so. But do make sure that you speak to your banks at all times. Do watch the video, last night's video, where I talk a bit more about that. I suggested that you should be spending some time now to review your expenditure. And I gave some useful helpful tips in that session to look at the areas that I think you should be reviewing, reducing your cost base, and then being able to have a healthier bank balance to weather the storm that we're currently facing. I also talked about rent guarantees for landlords throughout the UK. If your tenants cannot afford to pay your rent because of coronavirus, do you have insurances in place? And I talked about last night about the National Landlords Association, the rent guarantee. We personally have insurance to make sure that we get paid, but we may be doing things for their tenants. So we may not get the full amount, but we could pull on the insurance should we wish to. And that's something I described yesterday. I talked about tax delay payments as well. So there are a number of tax things. I'm going to go in a bit more detail about that tonight, based on the information I picked up this morning. But some of the updates that I didn't talk about last night, that's because maybe the updates were flowing through so quickly, fluidly, all the way through this morning, then obviously that's new information. And I want to share that with you. So the first one, obviously, if you're not aware already, is that the Bank of England have reduced the interest rate to 0.1%. We are, and I feel the word is now being overused, but unprecedented in many ways. And I do kind of think that we are in those times, and that's why the Bank of England have had to go through this crisis and support us, not just as property investors, buy-to-let investors, but as a whole. We may be having this issue whereby our own homes need to be reduced in terms of interest rates. So if you're on a variable rate, then this is music to our ears. But at the same time, one of the opportunities that I would suggest you look at is looking at your own home mortgage and your buy-to-let property portfolios and thinking that you may be able to now fix those mortgage interest rates for a long period of time, maybe a 3-year fixed rate, which is a better position for you when the interest rates do increase in the future. So again, I'm trying to look at things in terms of glass half full, even though we're in this particular sad, sorry state, not just from a health perspective, from a wealth perspective as well. But we do need to look at the opportunities, because it's when we're strong like that, we can make it. So Bank of England, 0.1%, really, really good news for everyone else. Again, in my article, I give descriptions of links and various other good stuff. So it's worth checking out my article. The link is below this video. Do read that in detail. That covers everything I talked about yesterday and again tonight. The other side to it is the British Business Bank. From the 11th of March, they made the announcement. And basically what they're going to be doing is supporting us again with the interest rates, getting loans to us. There is something called the Business Interruption Loan Scheme. Basically, that is, if you have a business, then there may be funds that you can pull on. I think the actual start date on this, I'm just going to squeeze in, is the 23rd of March. So from the 23rd of March, we will be able to pull on this business interruption loan scheme, whereby we can pull on money from the government on the Bank of England. Now, what that basically means is that we can beef up our balance sheets to make sure that we can weather the storm. It's not really designed there to go out there and be spending money or investing it, but it is a way to safeguard our business, to maintain our employee base. And then once we get through this problem, then we could start to repay that loan back. So the 23rd of March is really worth you putting that down. There is some criteria. So things like there's a turnover cap, but for most businesses, we will be under that threshold. We must be UK, and some sectors are not allowed to apply for it. But to be fair, there's very few sectors that aren't allowed to apply for this loan. But it is, again, if you've got a business of your own, if maybe you're a property developer, a consultancy firm, an IT business, marketing agency, that kind of stuff, then you may well be able to pull on this business interruption loan scheme and sustain your business for a long, long period of time. And that's what it's all about. Oh, in fact, there we are. So 23rd of March is the start date. The turnover must be 41 million or less. And it does say certain sectors are ineligible. But on my article, there is more of a criteria about that. So do go on to Optimize Accountants Coronavirus Financial Impact article for more details. The other thing that came out late last night, and I wish I could get it in time, but I really just didn't have time to do so, was a complete ban on evictions. And this is for 3 months. So this is to protect renters. So whilst we're going through this period of time, there's going to be a lot of people that want to pay the rent, but like my tenant was made redundant yesterday because he worked for a company that was in effect working for Laura Ashley. Laura Ashley called in the administrators straight away. That put that business out as well. Was that connected? Well, I'm not so sure, but it's one of the issues that we are facing. Now, the fact that you've got Virgin Atlantic making people redundant and asking them to take 2 months pay cut. You've got other firms as well going out of business, hotels, restaurants, cafes, all of that kind of industry, hospitality, all of those business sectors are in trouble. And as a result, we'll look at people's contracts and make them redundant. So really, the government are stepping in to say, well, you can't evict someone in this 3-month window. You must work with your tenant to look at payment options. And again, I'm going to echo the point of, if you have insurance, make sure you look at that. If you have a buy-to-let mortgage, speak to your banks about getting a payment holiday. Now, the problem is with this is the fact that you can get this payment holiday for buy-to-lets, but it doesn't stop the payment of utility bills. So if you have a HMO, then you will still have to pay the utility bills. You're going to have to speak to tenants because they could be in your property for longer periods of times. Your utility bills could increase because they're staying at home for longer. And if they don't pay you any money, you are directly out of pocket, irrespective if you get a holiday period from your bank. You still have to pay those utilities. You can't just have them cut off. You are providing a home for those tenants. So if you've got HMOs or you're paying bills like we do, then you've got to talk with your suppliers and say, well, can we also have a holiday? I've not done that piece of action, I've got to say. Everything else I've talked to you about, I have made those phone calls. I have spoken with the relevant people to get things done. I appreciate that's a conservative phrase, isn't it? So forgive me on that. But ultimately, it is about being proactive as much as possible. So do make sure you get up early tomorrow, make these phone calls to the relevant people. So your banks for the payment holidays, for buy-to-let mortgages, and your home for that matter, and your utilities. Find out what they can do for you. Not many are doing anything at the minute, but be aware that you need to speak with your tenants. You may decide that it's right for those tenants to leave the tenancy even though it's before their 6-month contract is up. My tenant was meant to be in the property for a year. They've been in for no more than 3 months, and I've let them go. Now, that's just being humanistic. I don't even know if that's a word. But I'm just trying to be, this is a people business we're in. We are humans at the end of the day. We need to look after each other. So the fact that the tenancy agreement, we could force the issue to stay there, but really, is that fair? Is that right? Do we really want to put people under pressure? No. I think we can just be nice to each other, really, in that regard. So we let him go, even though he had a year. We're going to get another tenant that wants that property, and the tenant in question has agreed that we'll keep the deposit. So, we can help out, but it is about speaking to tenants. So make sure you do that. Tax helpline. So there is, I mentioned a bit about this yesterday, but I didn't give the full details. I was just waiting on information on this. So if you are an individual, you'll have income tax. Maybe you've just done your tax return and now you've got to pay your first installment, or you're heading towards a second payment on account in July. You may be a self-employed person whereby you have VAT payments to make, or you've got corporation tax if you're a limited company. All of those elements of taxes, you can ask for a deferment. The telephone number, as you can see there, the tax help number is 0800 0159 559. They may point you to a different number. I have seen conflicting information about this, but it is worth you calling 0800 0159 559. And that line should be able to point you, even if it's not the right number for what the particular tax you're asking for. But if you have income tax, VAT, corporation tax concerns, and you're just not sure you want to make that payment because it could leave you short in case you are made unemployed, or you might lose business and you need to keep yourself going, then again, please do be proactive as much as possible. Speak to HMRC. I think they've got 2,500 people working on these lines to help people get through. They know how much of a difficult position we're all in, and they are looking to help. So as I mentioned, if you've got any questions, by the way, do type those questions in as I've been going along. If you've got any suggestions as well, it'd be really good for you just to share with me. I'd like to read those out in a second. So maybe why not share with me how you're feeling, what's going on in your mind, what's your approach? Have you been affected with the coronavirus and financial impact? Have you been let go? What are your plans? Have you indeed made contact with the banks? What have they said? Please do share with me, because it just makes it a bit easier to engage with you all in terms of what the banks might have said. Have you contacted HMRC? Again, please do share with me right now by commenting in the comment box below with your kind of experiences. Has it been good? Has it been helpful to speak with people? And again, if you do have any questions, do pop those down as we go through. As I mentioned, just as a closure, this isn't going to be as long as it was yesterday. It is more of an update, and I'll do it again tomorrow night if there's a major update, and I'll give a recap of what we've done this week so far. But this article has all the information in it about all the links to the government, Bank of England, NLA. It's great glossary of information that you can pull on. So do have a look at that article. I've embedded the video in that article as well from our YouTube channel, so you can always watch that as well. So no one's really asking questions. I've got one here from Chris who's asking the question, not a text question, but I wondered who you'd spoken to anyone as a estate agent or immediate comments from them on the housing market. I haven't seen anything yet from a estate agent saying about the cooling, but I can only imagine that there will be a cooling. Oh, by the way, I did talk about the opportunities, and I please stick with me because I am going to go into the opportunities now with you. But I do want to answer this question from Chris. So, have there been anything from the estate agents to say that there's been a softening of the market? Not directly, but there has been that across the pond in the United States already. You've got to imagine now that we're in a position whereby you can't freely go see properties. You may be worried about investing in a property because of your job. So you might find someone who's really keen to buy that property from you, but actually they're a bit now worried about their job. So they might want to keep the money. So I reckon that there will be a softening in the market within the next few weeks as we go through this situation, and people will be let go from their jobs, so for sure. So Chris, hopefully that's helped you. The opportunities, let's talk about that. The FTSE now is at 5,000. I've just agreed with Louise, my wife, to chuck some money into an index fund. Now, Warren Buffett, Tony Robbins, all talk about, instead of investing into specific shares, because you will never outpace the markets yourself. And I've spoken with many investors about buying in shares and stuff like that. JP Morgan have said, the people that I've spoken with who are now clients of ours, that invest in property because they know full well that they cannot outpace the indices in terms of share indexes. So don't go for shares, in my opinion. I'm not a wealth manager. I'm not an IFA, okay, but I can only describe to you what I'm doing, what I have learned. So we have put money already into the FTSE index because it's at 5,000. It was just below 5,000. We missed that, but unfortunately, it's now at 5,100. We've invested because the market is so bad. It's now at a 10-year low. And what I was saying to you is that some companies will be doing, the millionaires out there, and even billionaires, I should be saying, is what will be happening is that you'll see the FTSE 100, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, or CAC 40, the DAX 30, all of those indices will fall away. And my honest opinion is that, yes, you will see people dumping stocks, getting clear because they fear what's going to happen. But equally, at the same time, I think people are saying, well, I'm dumping the stock because I know it's going to go into free fall. I will get my money out now before the market crashes. And then once it bottoms out, and I'm not saying the market's bottomed out, it could go even further, but I've just felt now is the time to go ahead and invest into the FTSE 100 as a indice. So it is worth you looking at that. As Chris was talking about, are there opportunities in terms of looking at properties? Well, again, what I would say to you is that it could be a buyer's market, but you're going to find sellers also quite nervous. If you're finding sellers that are beginning to upgrade, Chris, and I'm talking to you, Chris, but obviously I'm talking to everyone else. If you're finding someone that is selling their home to upgrade to a bigger home, you might find they pull out as a seller because they're now worried of taking on too much of a mortgage, and maybe it's unbalanced them in terms of their confidence about the economy. And as such, you might find your position where you've got a good deal, but it falls through. The other side to it, you might find someone now that is in desperate need to sell their property because they've got financial commitments, they've got debts coming out of their ears, and they honestly need to sell that property. Now, I've got some good friends. Tony Lloyd's a great one of my friends who talks about, he's got some great education products on there. By the way, I'm not trying to sell his course, but he's a great guy. He's very ethical in his approach. And what I like about Tony's story is that he gets good deals, but he makes sure that the seller is in a good position. And the phraseology needs to be is that they need to be happy with the end result. So if you have got properties that you're going to see and you can help someone out get out quickly out of that property and the current situation they might find themselves in, even though you get a discount, they might thank you for it because you acted with integrity and you had their best interest at heart, as well as making a good deal for yourself as well. So as long as you're ethical, upfront with people, I think there are good deals to be had. And that was just to answer your question, Chris. I'm just going to expand it because my eyes are really bad and now I can't see anything. So Brian's asked a question, Simon, what's your advice about tenants in HMOs? What level of communication should we have? Should we expect tenants will also be responsible for their own health and safety? That's a great question, Brian. My nervousness about HMOs is that they're in clusters. They are on top of each other. And if you look at the, by the way, that came out wrong. I might rephrase that. They're not on top of each other. Okay. Just before we start any rumors here, Brian, they are not on top of each other. Okay. But what I am saying is that the government is saying if you've got a group of 5 or more people, then actually you need to look at isolation. That's pretty tough when it comes to HMO, especially if you've got a 6-bedroom HMO. So what happens? One person could get ill, everyone could get ill. So it is about having regular contact. You mentioned about what level of communication should you have? Daily, I would say. I'm in regular contact with my tenants, checking in with them, texting them, saying how they are, what's going on in their world, are they feeling okay? And even if they want to chat for 5 minutes, they are my customer at the end of the day, and I'm providing a service to them. So I am in regular contact with them. And I think it's right to do so. If they're in a job situation whereby they may lose a job, even in a HMO, right? They've still got to pay their rent, and they might find themselves in real difficulty. We've got to remember as well, they may well be burying their head in the sand and financial difficulties might come onto them and they don't communicate with you. So I think you need to be as proactive as possible, Brian, and everyone else listening to me, to speak with the tenants. The health side of it is also very important. The NLA, National Landlords Association, was also saying put posters in the properties talking about how to clean. Maybe you get a cleaner to safeguard your asset and safeguard those tenants to make sure that the property is in a good condition. That is my advice in terms of communication, dealing with HMOs, and looking at, again, just to re-echo the point, looking at your buy-to-let mortgages, getting a payment holiday from them, speaking to the utility companies, seeing if you can defer some of the payments or paying in installments. We are through the winter periods now, but if you've got more tenants staying in your properties, Ryan, especially if it's HMO, your utility bills are going to increase if they are asked to stay at home. You will find actually that some people might go somewhere else. They may go back home to their parents and they may want to leave that property. So again, you need to be open with them about that. You may find if you don't speak to them, Brian, and everyone else listening in, that they might just leave that property and you don't know anything about it until it's too late. So get in contact with them, find out if they're okay first and foremost, and then see if there's any financial problems that you need to speak about. Paul's asked the question today, been checking expenditure, reduce one cost. Paul, great news. Everyone should be looking at your expenditure. Yesterday, Paul, I was able to go through my direct debits. One of the tricks I had was going through my iPhone, and I was paying for yoga on my screen for the last 9 months at £10 a time. That's £90 I could have saved. Now, I only saved that money because I was watching this whole thing about coronavirus. I wanted to explain how people can save some money. Darn it, I was paying for this kind of thing, and I've probably reduced it overall by £30–40 a month, which is quite a lot of money. So Paul, it's great to see. So still haven't found anything to cancel yet. Well, keep looking, Paul. You might just find it. In fact, make it a challenge for yourself, Paul. Find one of those direct debits that you do cancel. Might be a bit scary, but you will be able to save some money if you look hard enough. Looking at switching some payments to direct debits to spread costs. Absolutely. Instead of paying in full 1 month, such as utilities where it's variable, then maybe looking at spreading those costs over. So that's pretty much me done. I don't think there is any other questions so far. So I've only been going so far on this session, so not half an hour. But I will be back tomorrow. So again, at 8 p.m. I know it's Friday night, but let's be fair, no one's really going out anyway. So I will be double downing now on the detail for tomorrow with any updates. And then hopefully you guys will give me some feedback about what you've been doing tomorrow based on the information we've shared with one another this evening. So thank you ever so much for you spending some time with me tonight. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. And until then, stay well and stay healthy and stay smiling. See you tomorrow. Thank you.